Hey everybody, welcome back to the LDRS Creative Studio. It's Thursday night in the Hunt household, and this afternoon was a watercolor afternoon for me. I needed some therapy. We've been really busy lately, the last couple of weeks, months. What are you doing?
I'm turning on your background lights.
Oh, he's turning lights on. I see him doing things. I'm like, what are you doing? So anyway, I needed a little bit of therapy, and I decided to do some watercoloring. I actually started this project last week when I had to cancel due to a migraine, and I thought, I really feel like watercoloring, and so that's what I decided to do. So I came back and I thought I'm going to do a different color, and we'll see how it goes. So we're going to play a little bit tonight with that. And but anyway, before that, thank you guys for joining us. It is always so wonderful to have you guys here and to be able to do this with you guys. I spend a lot of my time with, and this is not a complaint, but I spend a lot of my time with just my husband and my son. This, the pandemic, the whole thing, right? And and we work a lot, so I don't really get a whole lot of socialization these days and months. So I wish I could see you, and I wish I could really talk to you guys, like actually have a real, conversation. But this is, second best to that. So along those lines, please, if you have any questions, make sure you get those questions out. Alan is going to pass questions along to me as much as he can. He tries to get them all, and I know it's impossible because we're actually in 3 different, the Facebook group page and then YouTube. So it's impossible for him to get every question out to me. But I know we've got Linnea out there, so maybe I don't know how she's.
She's going to just idle.
Okay, she's just going to idle? Okay. I didn't know if she was going to be able to help with that or not tonight, so we'll see. So actually, we won't see. But anyway, Alan's going to do his best. I don't know if we have Stephanie or not. It's Thursday, so I'm guessing not, because she's actually doing a remodeling project at home, and she's a better woman than I am, because that's not something I'd be able to do. Like, remodeling for me is telling my husband, what to do, what I want done. That's it. I'm crafty, but I can't do any of that, anything more than that. So anyway, we are going to switch cameras. We're going to be working with hold on, give me just a second, honey. We're going to be working with the Pelargonium today, and it's a type of a geranium, I guess, and the Pelargonium, I don't know if that's like the like the real name for it, or what, but we thought it was a cool name, so we went with it. And so this is what we're going to be working with today. So hit that button, buddy old pal. Yeah. Okay. Actually, will you put that on camera 2? Yeah. There we go. So here's camera 2. This is the Pelargonium. This is what I'm going to be working with. This is a 4x6 stamp set. This was in our most recent collection. 4x6 stamps, and then of course we have the coordinating dies. So you get 9 stamps in total and 4 dies that are going to cut out everything except for your sentiments and this really cool little border piece down here. If you're not familiar with these floral stamp sets, we've got this one and we have the lily. We actually have a couple more that are going to be coming out in the next collection. They've been really popular. But anyway, it is basically in this. I'm really big on giving, or not giving, but putting everything that you need. I try and make it so that everything that comes in your set is useful, as well as trying to give you enough so that you don't have to pull a ton of other things to create something beautiful. If you want to coordinate it with other things in your craft collection, you can, but as much as we can, I don't want you to have to. So here, if you buy just this set, if you have one of these, then you will get a large flower, so your large Pelargonium, and you will also get some accent pieces. So we have in this one a really pretty little butterfly, so we have a little critter in here, and then we have another floral, which is kind of like baby's breath, really pretty. The large word is hugs. And then we have 4 sentiments that will coordinate with hugs. And then you also get a border stamp in here as well. So it gives you a lot of really fun things to do, a lot of really cool options in that. And then of course the coordinating dies that are sold separately. And then I pulled in, this is turning out to be like, milk and bread for me. This is really turning out to be a staple for me. I use this a lot. It is a big go-to, and these are in my favorite sizes. So this is our A2 stitch layered card toppers. And there's actually 3 dies in here, so we're going to be working with this. And this is so perfect for layering up your cards. And then we're going to be watercoloring, so we're grabbing our watercolor paper, which I absolutely love this. This is a smooth watercolor paper. It's a beautiful, beautiful white. It's really thick, which is awesome. And it works perfectly with a lot of different watercolor paints, but very specifically, I wanted something that was going to work really, really nicely with the Caran markers, which are my new favorite to work with. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I want to show you this. Alan, you want to switch to the...
There.
Yep, so here we go. This is the one that I colored up, I painted on last week when I had to cancel because I had the migraine. And so I was going with kind of these peachy pinks. And so I painted this one up on that day, but I got to a point where I couldn't see very well anymore because my migraine was so bad. So anyway, so I wanted to paint some more today. And so I thought I'm going to try it a little bit differently. And so I did something, I thought I'm going to try it in blues and see how I do. And then when I got done with it, I thought, boy, I wonder what it would be like if I did kind of a fun little just a water wash or watercolor wash background on it, which is what I did here. I don't know if I'm in love with it because I feel like the Pelargonium really stands out just on the white background. But I thought this looked really, really kind of warm and like summery, but it just doesn't stand out as much for, you know. And then I also, you know, sprinkled them both with some white watercolor or white. I watered down some acrylic paint basically, and then sprinkled them both with that. So these are the 2 that I started with. So I've got this kind of peachy pink, and then I have this in blues. And then I thought, what can I do for tonight? So tonight we're going to try, I'm going to see how it comes out in purple, because I thought it'd be fun to see how this particular flower comes out in different colors. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to bring you kind of up to speed with what I've done already, just so you know where I'm at. So first of all, I've already gone ahead and stamped it, and you can see I stamped it with some really, really light colors. And we've got for the hybrid inks, so the LDRS Creative Hybrid Inks, we've got a couple of different sets out there. One of the sets it'll say like 12 new colors, and we've got some beautiful, beautiful, really soft colors in there that I love for doing, you know, for having like, you know, your lightest color, of course, but also for things where you want the color to kind of disappear. And so I decided to work with Fairy Dust, which is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous purple. And then Pistachios Aplenty. And so that's where we've got, I stamped the top of it in that Fairy Dust, which is a beautiful, beautiful purple. Now I did stamp this about 3 times because this ink, these 2 ink colors are really, really light, and they're intentionally light. But I stamped this about 3 times because I wanted to have a little bit more color for you guys. I wouldn't necessarily stamp it this dark when I'm just working on my own here in the studio, but I didn't know how the light was going to catch it for the video tonight, so I did stamp it to make it darker. And then the same with the Pistachios Aplenty, I made that darker as well. And all I did was I literally just inked up the top of the stamp in the purple, and then inked up the bottom of the stamp in the green. And so I did that in the 2 different colors because I want the colors to kind of disappear to some degree as I'm painting, so it kind of looks kind of like no line, I guess. So next up, we've got Caran markers. Here we go. These are the Caran brush markers, right? This is the big pack here, and we've got, you know, different sizes. If you look in the store, there's different sizes there, so you don't have to get the big pack, but that's what I use. Now, I haven't tested with these, so I'm hoping that these colors are going to work out nicely, but the colors that I'm choosing to work with are pale violet, violet blue. So the pale violet is going to be my lightest color, and then the violet blue is going to be the darker color. And we're going to try this out. I'm going to bring in some pale pink, and we're going to see how that works. I don't know. Never know. I just like to play with color. And then for the leaves, I've got curry and then olive green. All right. So I've got my water over here. Now I can't get all this stuff in camera here because there just isn't enough space. I want to be zoomed in tight so that you can see what I'm doing. Pamela is asking, can you color with the inks? No, you cannot color with the inks. The hybrid inks are a combination of, it is a combination of properties between a dye and a pigment ink. So this is something that you can stamp with, and then you can use watercolors with it. So it doesn't have a water base to it. So you can use watercolors with it and it's not going to smear. You can also stamp with this, and then you can color with like your Copic markers or other alcohol markers. You can stamp on wood surfaces, glossy surfaces, fabrics. You can color blend with it. I mean, this is really a go-to ink, but it is not a watercolor ink because it is not water soluble. All right. Excellent question, though. All right, so let's see. I've got two brushes here. One of them is very, very long. I typically work with a round brush when I am watercoloring. So this one is a number 2. And then this one is a 00 that I'm working with here. And actually, Alan, will you do me a favor?
Yep.
There's a blue one over there. I forgot to grab it.
When you say one,
There's a blue brush over there. It's a Winsor & Newton blue. The handle itself is blue. It might be.
is it in here?
I don't know. It might be in there, like right in the center where all the brushes are. Look in the center. You're looking at markers and pens. There you go, brushes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so let me see.
This tiny one?
Yep, that's the tiny one. Thank you.
Okay.
And so this is one of my favorites. This is a 000. This is what I usually use when I'm doing like the fine detail, is a 000. So, so I have these 3. Now to start off with, I am going to start with the number 2 because I want to move the color around in here a little more. And I'm going to start with, boy, I hope this works out. Like I said, I haven't tested with these colors. So I'm going to work right here on my glass. And I'm going to just scribble in a little bit of purple. All right. Get my brush a little bit wet. And I'm going to get some water on here. And I'm going to work in a small area at a time. All right. Let's see how much that is, how much color. I'm going to brush some of that off because I don't want it to be so dark. So I got some of that color off. So then it fades out to be really, really light. All right, so I'm just going to kind of go around and do every couple of petals here. Grab some of that color. And I always start in the center and then pull the color out. And that way it's going to be a little bit darker where you first touch down. So I'm going to skip an area here. I don't want to go back to back on the same, like right next to each other in terms of the little petals, because I don't want the colors to blend together. And so I want to let one area dry before I move on to the next. I am going to get this little area right up here. Just pull a little bit of color in. So it's really, really soft. Right now the goal is just to kind of define the spaces a bit. Let me know if you have any questions.
Does the type of brush matter, water versus paint?
Does the type of brush matter?
Yeah. Like what the brush is made for.
I would use a watercolor brush when you're watercoloring. You know, it's going to handle the water and the color differently.
So paintbrush is not considered a watercolor brush?
Well, no, for watercoloring, I mean, you know, when it comes to any kind of crafting, your tools matter. So I always say, you know, you want to make sure you have the right tools for whatever you're doing, because you're just gonna yield the best results if you have the right tools. There we go. So just really, really simple. I'm just putting down like a first layer of color everywhere. Not everywhere, but right now in some of these, kind of every other area. You know, and you can kind of tell if you feel like you have too much color going down, then absolutely brush some of it off. I always have a little towel here with me so I can brush color off, or even dry my brush if I have too much water on it. Pamela is saying, would it be the same premise as coloring like Copics where you start light and go darker? Well, with this, absolutely. Now with Copics, a lot of people start dark and then go light. It's just not the way that I learned, and it's not the way that I just don't excel at that with that method, but a lot of people do. But with this, you definitely want to start light, because you're not going to be able to remove this paint once it's down. You know, once it dries, that's it, right? So you can see I don't need a lot of color. I mean, just had that tiny little bit that I added down here. So it's really, really simple. This to me is just incredibly relaxing. You know, everybody has their favorite medium, you know, to work with, I think, whether it's paints, you know, acrylics, watercolors, whatever it is. Everybody, I think, has their favorite. And watercolors has always been a real favorite for me. When I color with Copics, I enjoy it, but and it's very relaxing. But this, I mean, I could just lose myself in this. I could do this for hours. And, you know, speaking of tools, your paper matters with this. You know, you want to have a really good watercolor paper. The one that I have here, I mean, I've been watercoloring for several years, and I've tried a lot of different papers. I have a lot of papers in my craft stash that I don't even use. You know, I've purchased them, I've played with them, I don't like them. And then I have others that I absolutely love. I did have a watercolor paper that I loved with my car and markers, but I felt like it was really, really expensive. And so I wanted something that was going to be more economical, but was going to be absolutely wonderful. So that is why we have a watercolor paper. But your paper does matter. I also don't like really, really thin watercolor papers, because they're just not going to hold up to layers of water. I need a little more color. So these little areas, you don't need a whole lot on your brush. There we go. So that really is our first layer of color. All right. Got some paper towel here just to do a little bit of cleanup. So this is going to take just a moment to dry, but that's how quick one layer of color goes down. I'm going to move into the green here now while that dries. And now this is my curry, and I love this color, so I'm just going to dot some of this curry in here. And this is just this is another technique, and that this is one of the reasons why I love this paper too. Now I am going to change my brush because I'm working in a much smaller area. So now I'm switching to my 000. Look how beautifully that color moves on this paper. It's so pretty. Even when doing, you know, a dry technique. My brush is dry. There we go. Very pretty. These colored markers are very, very concentrated, so that's why I'm only dabbing, like dotting a tiny little bit. You don't really need a whole lot. Get a little more in here. Really pretty first layer. So I'm going to continue down. And I like to leave some areas where I don't have much color there. You know, some areas are going to be a little bit darker, a little more concentrated with color. Just kind of pull that color through. There we go. Nice little start. Actually, this area is a little bit bigger, so still working with curry. And we'll bring some of that curry in. So we've got some questions here. Brenda's asking, what about using the refillable water brushes? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, if you want to use those. They're wonderful. You do have to really have a good control over the water. I would use a fine refillable water brush. They're aqua brushes, I think they call them. I would use a fine if I were you, because there are different sizes, and I prefer the fine tip because it's going to be a much smaller tip, and you're not going to get as much water out of that, and you're going to have a little more control. Tiffany is saying, what are you wiping your brush on? Oh.
Towel everyone loves.
Yeah, this is just a towel. This is my ratty old towel.
You should sell those.
You can see, I mean, this is my craft towel. See, it's got stuff everywhere. That's all it is a little towel. It's an IKEA towel. But I have a little bit of paper towel here just so I can wipe up the excess on my board. So I'm going to leave that now to dry, that green. Tiffany is saying, where do you get your brushes? Actually, my brushes, I believe I got them from Dick Blick. Or I think it's called Blick Art Materials now or something like that. I do like Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton seems to be my go-to. This one is not a Winsor Newton, but it's also really nice. This is not a favorite of mine because it's so long. The brush is so long. I like a smaller brush, but I wanted that larger tip there, so that's what I pulled. Okay, so have you tried watercolor pencils with the stamp? I have not tried watercolor pencils with the stamp. I do have a couple of different watercolor pencils, and I need to practice with them because I don't get as much control out of the color when I've worked with them, and I've only worked with them a couple of times, but I do have a couple of different brands. But you can certainly use, you know, absolutely use them. All right, so this one now is the violet blue. Elizabeth is saying, does your watercolor paper have texture? It does not. This watercolor paper is so smooth. I love it. What?
Show it again. People are asking, what is it?
This is it right here. This is the watercolor pencil or paper right here. Here's the, so it says it's watercolor paper. You get 10 sheets. They're already cut to A2, but they're a really, really pretty white. It's not like a yellowy, creamy off-white or anything. It's a really, really beautiful white. You can actually, here, if you look here, it is the same color as this is my Nina Classic Crest cardstock, and that's what I use for my Copics, and when I'm coloring with Copics, I use this for my card bases a lot, and I use it for, actually I don't use it for my card bases, I use it for my card toppers, and I use it for like my sentiments and anything I'm stamping on, and it's almost identical in color, which I like a lot. All right, so I'm going to be moving to my smaller brush now. So this is my 000. This color that I'm working with now is the violet blue. Let me lower that down. There we go. Violet blue. Let's see how these work well. We'll see how they work. I don't know. Get some of that color off. This is where it's a little bit scary when I first introduce a color. I always hope it's not going to be too much. There we go. Need a little more. I want it to be a little more intense than it is. Turn this around. There we go. Now this is why I like a 000 brush, because it gives me, I'm not loading up so much water on it. Isn't that pretty? Yay! Like it when a plan comes together. So I'm putting a little bit of water down first, and I'm staying within the boundaries of each petal. I've got my color, and I'm going to put it down at where I want the color to be the darkest. Just kind of help move it along a little bit. There we go. And as these dry, they are going to change. They're going to continue to move a little bit. So, you know, I may find that I have to go in again with a little more of one of the colors, and that's fine. I really want it to be dark right on those edges. There we go. And then let it move a bit. Work it out a bit if you need to. There we go. I just kind of try and help it along wherever it needs help. If you feel like you have too much on your brush, then you brush it off. There we go. I'm going to move down here because I've got a couple of petals there that I have water on, and if I go in between them, I'm going to have a problem. See how it's not as dark as I want? So I brush that water off, and now I come back in with the color. I'm picking up some darker color over here, and I'm going to drag it along my petal just to darken that a little. Get a little bit of water so I can help to move that color along, and then smooth out that edge where we have the transition between the two. And I'm not so worried about that little, it's going to bleed a little bit, and that's okay. I have a lot of water on that one. All right, so I'm going to move across to this other petal over here, get some water down. Now I do want to add a little more color in here. Pick up my color. I'm going to start again in the center because that's where I want my darkest color to be. Pull that out a bit with some water. Add a little more color in. There we go, a little bit of water, and move it around. Any more questions, Alan?
Not that I've seen.
No? Okay. So this is basically the process. You can see when I put that water down first and then I touch down, you can see it moving. It's really pretty.
Oh, yeah, people want to know what you're making me for dinner.
No, they don't.
They do. Wendy Gift. Angie, what are you making Alan for dinner?
I'm making Alan cook. That's what I'm making him. How's that?
He might be cooking. I have no idea.
Yeah, actually, I think our son was planning on making something tonight for dinner. You got to remind him of that, so we have dinner done when when we're done here. I don't typically cook on craft night because we finish up late, and I don't like to eat late. You know, Alan bought this cookbook very, very early on in our marriage.
You're bringing that up.
He bought a cookbook. He was going to learn how to cook so that he could make me. There was a specific meal that you wanted to make me, wasn't there?
I don't know. I couldn't. The first night we were, I don't know, on a date, I cooked for you. Bacon and eggs.
Bacon and eggs, yeah. He can do bacon and eggs. But he did. He bought a cookbook because I actually love to cook. I really do find a lot of enjoyment in cooking. I don't like fast cooking, and I don't like it when I'm under pressure. I like to spend like the day cooking. And so anyway, he wanted to be able to make something for me. And so he bought this cookbook, and we've been married. How many years have we been married? We've been 21 years this year. How many times? Yeah, how many times have you used that cookbook?
I don't know where it's at.
You don't know where it's at?
No.
Neither do I. I don't think he's ever used the cookbook. Ooh, that was a lot of water right there.
I think it's more of a skills cookbook.
No, it had recipes in there, but yeah, you wanted to learn how to do some things. I do remember that, and it was. I do recall that it was a skills cookbook so that you could learn some skills, but you had to actually cook to learn the skills. And I don't think you ever actually did anything in it. But you know what? He had very good intentions. I will give him that. He was planning on it. Let's see. I want to keep some of these light. And notice we're getting very purpley. And I'm losing that beautiful intense blue. So I'm going to pick up some color here without any water and get that really, really deep, dark color in there because I love that accent. I think it's really pretty. Define some of the shapes here. This is something where you definitely want to take your time when you're coloring or painting. There we go. You know, don't feel rushed with it. And add a little bit of color back into here. Because as it dried, it kind of lost some of that intense color. So Laureen is asking, what did you stamp the image with? I stamped it with two hybrid inks. These are the two that I stamped it. So I stamped the top part where the flowers are with, this one is called Fairy Dust. It's a beautiful, beautiful, really, really pale, pale purple. So that's why, you know, since I'm coloring or painting with purple, I knew that those lines were going to kind of fade away and or fade into it. I mean, it's, you know, this is not water soluble. Hybrid inks are not water soluble. So, you know, you're still going to see some of that line, but it's going to kind of blend in. And then I stamped the stem and the leaves with this one. This is called Pistachios Aplenty. And that's a really beautiful green. But it's a really, really light green. For the same reason, I want the colors, I just want it to kind of disappear. Move some of this through here.
Can you show one of the markers?
This is the marker that I'm working with right now. This is a Karin brush marker. All right, and this color is violet blue. So for anybody who's joining us right now, we have these in the store. I don't know if I can bring this whole thing in, but this is the Brush Marker Pro. This is the big box. This is the one that has, I think, 72 markers. And we do have different sized sets in the store. You know, so if you want to kind of one of the smaller sets, like a starter set, to see if you like them, then I would suggest going with that. There we go. They're really, really beautiful. So right now, some of these little areas here, I'm going over the stamp line a little bit, just to make it a little more like the color of the watercolor that I'm putting in. There we go. And it adds a little bit of a darker edge on there, that I think is really, really pretty, and it kind of defines that edge a little bit without really looking stamped. Kind of a natural kind of tip or a bend in that. That's really pretty. So let's come in here. It's another reason why I like to use this really, really fine tip brush, because it allows me to move around these lines really nicely and just putting a tiny little bit of color down. Really gives a lot of control. Look how pretty. Yay! I'm really liking this color combination a lot. This is just water right here. I'm going to go in with a little bit. I'd like to turn it around to make sure that I'm getting the brush strokes in the direction that I'm most comfortable with. I'm right-handed. I will turn it in the direction that works with, with my hand, so that I'm laying the color up. That's where I'm most comfortable. So if you're most, find what you're most comfortable with. You may not want to move this around in the same way that I do. Okay. Now I'm going to grab that dark. These are both the same color, but one's more concentrated. This one up here has a little bit of water in it. But I want to define this right here. Define that just a tiny little bit. A little more color down. And then blend that out. I don't want it to look like I've outlined it. So that's why I'm adding a little more color, blending out so it looks more natural. And then I'm going to come up in here just with a little bit. Blend that edge out a bit because it looks a little dark. There we go. Yay! It's coming together. I get a little bit of color in here. Kind of leaving this center a bit. There we go. It's starting to look pretty. This is really lightened up over in here, so I'm going to give that a little more color. And you see as it dries, you start to see where you need to add a little more. Questions? Any questions? Oh!
Did the flowers come on the mat?
No, this is a custom mat that I actually designed.
Did you ever put out there where
Oh, no, we didn't. Stephanie gave me that link. And it's a company that will custom design a mat for you. I mean, actually, you design it, and then they will make it for you. And so these flowers are actually in one of our stamp sets. I'll grab a little bit of color here just to add some pink, almost like pink in there, because I'm going right on that white. So here we are. I think this is turning out pretty cool so far. What time is it? 7:44. All right. I'm not going to keep going with this because I really want to finish a card for you, but this is basically what I did. I think that this purple is really turning out nice. And then I would come in here. Let me just dab in a little bit of this green. This green is the olive green. Did I do that first? No, I did curry. You know, you guys have seen me watercolor, but I kind of want to play with this a little bit and see where we're going to land. But I don't want to take too much time and go over. So I wanted to show you a little bit of my process with it. Just move that color through. This stem here will require a few different layers as I go. Just to kind of build it up and get a little dimension in there. And I may end up adding another color, I'm not sure. But just kind of play with it a little bit and see how it works. This is some of that curry that I'm adding back in. Kind of has a bit of a brown look to it that I think is really pretty, and I love that brown with the green. Okay, so I would keep going with that, but I want to finish up a card. So that's basically what I did with these other two. All right, so you can see where it's headed. All right, so I have this kind of peachy pink, and then I have the blue, and then we've got this beautiful purple going on here. I actually need to fix something on here before it dries though, because I don't like how the water is on it. And when I come back to this later, I want to make sure that that blends out right. I get that little bit of an edge there. Okay. So look at, there it is in 3 different colors. Like I said, I would keep going until I was done. So let's finish up a card. Let's see where we're going to land. I think I'm going to work with this one. I'm not in love with this background. I did trim, or I did cut. I found this blue that I think would be really actually, that really makes that pop now, doesn't it? Oh boy. All right, well, we're gonna figure something out here. So let's see. I'm gonna do the same card 2 ways. That's what I'll do. It'll make it fast so we can finish. So I'm going to stamp. This is from the Pelargonium. I'm going to stamp the hugs. Pamela is asking, could you use a heat gun to dry it quicker? I wouldn't do that. I would not do that with my watercolors because it could move the paint and stuff, and I don't want to do that. It can also heat up your paper and make your paper bend, and I don't want that to happen either. So it can like make your paper kind of curl. So I wouldn't use a heat gun on it. All right, let's see. Now this is the first time I'm going to be stamping this stamp. It's a brand new stamp, so I may have to stamp it more than once. Well, actually, let me see if I can condition it a little bit just by rubbing it. Let's see how we do. Now this is my Raven Hybrid ink. This is a really gorgeous, gorgeous, deep, dark black. And oh my goodness, if anybody's wondering about the Stampendables, they finally, oh look at that, it's beautiful. I don't even think I have to stamp that a second time. I think I will.
Are they on that ship sideways?
No, they are not on the ship that is stuck in the Suez Canal. I can tell you they are not there. But they oh, let me flip this over, this will be easier so I don't have to move the stamp. They have actually finally been offloaded from sitting on the cargo carrier in the, what is it, the Long Beach area. I kept thinking South Beach, and I knew I had the wrong location. Alan, where's my? Oh, can you get me the thing over there so I can clean my stamp?
This thing?
Yeah. I need the holder too, honey. Anyway, you know, the shipping these days is just atrocious. So anyway, we're currently waiting for them to be picked up. They've been sitting and waiting for more than a week, waiting for a truck, waiting to be loaded on a truck to be brought here so that they can be shipped out. So those Stampendables are on the way finally. But if you do not, you know, we don't have them in our store, so because we're actually all sold out of our first stock, or our first set of stock that's coming in. Those are all being shipped to retail stores. So if you want one, it's one of these. This is what makes it super easy. You know, it's really easy on your hands. It makes it really, really easy to apply even pressure when you're stamping. Absolutely love it. It's go to our website to the About Us area, and there is a store locator there. And if you go to that store locator, you're going to be able to search through those stores to see which stores still have some available to pre-order. Okay, so Alan, I need you to do some die cutting for me.
Okay, I'll have to.
Yeah.
Have to find some room.
All right. Can you give me the plates?
I can.
Ay, this is not this tape.
I didn't know there was going to be work involved.
I could. This tape is just not holding. There we go. Okay. So Misto Hunt is going to die cut that. While he's doing that, I'm going to get a couple of card bases ready. Alan, can you put this on camera number 2? I think we're too close up now. Oh, down. Okay. So I've got, this is my Nina Classic Crest. I'm just going to do a couple of card bases really quickly. So I'm going to cut this at 5.5 while he is doing the die cutting. And then if you wouldn't mind, tape it and die cut the other one too while I'm doing this. That would be oh so helpful.
Okay.
So I'm going to score these at 4 1/4, so we're ready to go. There is one. I need an assistant who will just like cut and score a whole bunch of these for me so they're ready to go and I don't have to do it every time.
You do, yeah.
He says I should hire someone to do that. I know, honey, you do have another job. I get it. Okay. So let's see where we are. I'm going to pop this one up on foam. And get my trusty foam. Where's my foam? Here we go. Let's see. These might be a little too long. They are. They're too long. There we go. Where'd my, oh, here it is. Here's another one. Too long. He's still die cutting.
Well, yeah, I had to drop everything first. Then...
He had to drop everything. Then he had to pick everything up. So both of these layers were cut with my A2 stitch layered card toppers. So this layer was cut with the smallest of the 3 dies. Right. And then the blue layer was cut with the middle one.
I did a really bad
Thank
job.
you. You did a wonderful job with it. And then this last layer that I've already cut, you see the little stitch marks on there? Actually, I can't hold it up there. It's not zooming. There we go. So this last layer, I'm gonna tape that flat down on there. Anyway, that last layer I keep saying was cut with the largest of those dies. And so you can see how perfectly, no measuring at all, they just layer together beautifully. So pretty. And then now I have my card topper. And I like this card. It's a really easy card. I mean, all your time is really spent watercoloring. If you wanted to use some of those other pieces, if you wanted to create a beautiful border, you could do so. But I like this because it really shows you how you can create something very simply. I'm going to put the little hugs right here. Actually, maybe I'll do it. No, I'm going to put it here. I'll put it here. I think that'll work. You can create something really simply by, you spend your time in your watercoloring and then, oops, you don't have to do much more to it. It's one of the things I love about the set because the flower is just so gorgeous that it doesn't require much else if you don't want to. I mean, it certainly would be gorgeous to layer up a lot of other stuff with it. You know, if I were to cut this out with the die, and then I think I'll put that right here. I think I'll do it straight. Should I do it straight? Let me look in the camera. I can't tell if it's straight. There we go. Look how cute. I don't know if I like it there. I'm going to move it. I think I'm going to put it over here where you can see it more. I'm struggling with this. I think I'm going to put it here. I don't know if I like that there. I'm really struggling with this one for some reason. I think it shows up better down here. All right. I could spend all day doing just that. I think what's throwing me is that watercolor background that I told you I didn't like. Okay, so this one, I don't have a separate backer to go between. This one is just a little bit different in that I'm going to layer this up, but I'm skipping the middle layered card topper die. And so I've got the smallest one and then the largest one. I'm not framing this one because this one is just a beautiful white on white. I have an extra here. Beautiful white on white. I love having a lot of white on the cards. I think it's really, really pretty. That is not centered very well. I'm having trouble centering tonight. You guys have trouble centering sometimes? I mean, some days I'm like right on with it, and other times not so much. There we go. So let me get... Elizabeth is asking, one day next week, can we work with the Pirouette spiral template? Absolutely. I know we had some questions about that, and somebody had asked very specifically, actually it may have been you, I'm reading now, about the spiral, and somebody else had asked about using, oh, I know what it was. It was using some of the Pocket Pals characters in it. So we will do that as well. So why don't we plan on that on Tuesday? We'll play with that some more. Because those things are so much fun. There's so many things you can do with them. They're just wonderful. Okay. And then this one I'm going to put up higher. Very pretty. I think it's pretty. I like it. So two similar looks. We've watercolored, we've used the same stamp two different ways. Oh, I got to put that on my card base. Where's my card base? Ah, I'm feeling out of sorts tonight. Forgetting stuff. There we go. There we go. It's not a card unless it's actually a card, right? So here we go. Alan, do you want to zoom in for me?
Like that?
Yeah. So here we have a close-up of both of these cards. So, same watercolor technique, two different ways. You know what? At first I didn't like that background that I put on there because I just didn't think that I thought it really took away from the blue of the flower. But now that I've added that beautiful pop of color, that blue that it's matted with, I think it looks really pretty. I think that really brings out the blue in the flowers. So I've completely changed my mind on that. I really, really love it. So here we are, two different looks. This one is very, very much white on white. The focus is really on the Pelargonium. This one focuses on the Pelargonium too, but in a different way. I just think they're both lovely. So I hope you enjoyed these. I hope you enjoyed it. And then of course I've got to finish up this one because I think this is going to be stunning by the time I'm done with it too. So hopefully you guys had a little bit, an idea of how, how I colored it up. And you guys have seen me color. So Alan, you want to switch back to camera 1?
Sure.
Yay. Oh, and we have a question. Do you have the measurements for the A2 topper dies? Somebody's asking. Yes. The measurements should be on the website, but they're also on the back of the package. Do you want to switch me back to here? So the largest is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that is an A2 size exactly. They all have stitching, by the way. The first nested or the second die is 3.875 by 5.125. All right. And then the smaller one is 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. So they nest beautifully and they have gorgeous stitching. They're so pretty. I love these. Okay, back to 1. Hello. Okay, so, you know what I just realized? We're out of the Pelargonium dies, aren't we?
I think so. Might have one, but I don't think.
Do we have one over there? Because I'd like to do.
One right there?
No, this one is the one I've been using. It's open. I can't give that one away. Because what I wanted to do was give away the Pelargonium die, Stampin' Dies as our giveaway tonight, but we're very, very low on a lot of our dies. They should be arriving in maybe the next week to a week and a half, hopefully, all of our restock. So you know what? I don't think we have it. So we'll have to do that another day. So
What we do have is all the stuff you're announcing next week.
So for today's giveaway, let's do the layered A2 card toppers. So, all right. So we will give one of these away. So hopefully you got a comment out there. Alan is going to browse through and he's going to grab a name and he's going to pass that along to me momentarily. Yay. I'm going to hold these up really quick. What, honey?
I'm trying to find a name here. Laureen Langmeyer?
First name again?
Laureen
Laureen?
Langmeyer.
Laureen Langmeyer? Am I saying it right?
Yes.
Talk to me, Goose.
Yes.
Okay, Laureen Langmeyer, you are the winner of the A2 Layered Card Toppers die set. So Laureen, I need you please to send us an email at customerservice@ldrscreative.com. We need your complete mailing address so we can get this set out to you in the mail ASAP. Not this one. Well, it'll be a brand new one. It won't be this one. So anyway, guys, everybody, guys, girls, gals, I think we are done for the night. We've actually gone over by, it looks like about 4 minutes, so I do apologize for that. 5 minutes? Well, it says 4 minutes on the big old clock. He's got this huge clock in front of me where the letters are like this big. So if you look at that, either you have that set wrong or...
It still doesn't work.
All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening and a fantastic weekend. We'll see you back here on Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. And we are going to be working with the Pirouette pattern builder. We're going to do something with the spiral and something with some pocket pals. So that will be a lot of fun. So until then, have a great night, great weekend, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for joining me. Well, us.
Us.
Yay.